Hello and welcome, my name is William, and today I wanted to share my impressions of the Athlon CRONUS Gen 2 4.52-29 by 56. I needed a rifle scope for a variety of disciplines, but mainly PRS, and decided to settle on this one because of all the specs on paper, but also one very big thing, the price point. So if you look at this chart I made, you will see that the specs of the Athlon are rather average compared to other very good quality scopes. Only the Calais 525 Night Force NX8 and Leopold Mark V are lighter than the Athlon. It has a 56mm objective, it is first focal plane, but the big and obvious thing that sets it apart from the others is the price point. So on the Athlon website it's listed at $1,800, but in practice, on most websites, you're able to find it for $1,300. And let me tell you, this thing packs a lot of scope for the price. Of course, it's not a perfect scope. It comes with some weaknesses. We'll talk about this in a second. But reading online reviews on forums, lots of people say that the quality of the glass is much better than the Vortex Razor Gen 2 or even the Schmidt & Bender PM2. But that's very subjective. Whenever I have the budget, I would really like to put my hands on these different scopes and test the resolutions the same way I've tested the resolution with this Athlon CRONUS Gen 2. So the way I do it is I use a US Air Force 1951 chart at 25 yards. If you want to know more about my process of measuring the resolution, I invite you to watch the very first video of this channel where I explain the whole process. For the scope itself, when it comes to the size, this is for giving you an idea. So I've put the sunshade in, and it is contained in the American Rifle Company Embrace mount, which is really solid. Side note, it comes with these dents here to attach accessories like a rangefinder carrier, some rails, and it comes with a bubble level included. So the main tube is 34mm thick. It is completely waterproof. Don't mind this, it is just me. I've added a card holder for my PRS matches. When it comes to the ergonomics, it's pretty simple. You have the diopter adjustment here on the ocular. This is the magnification ring, and you have your turrets, so windage, elevation, parallax, and illumination. The rings can seem a bit hard to move at first, but it's very smooth. And when you're in the middle of the action, even when you're wearing gloves, it is pretty easy to adjust. The turrets are exposed, they have a zero stop, they're not lockable. But one thing I love with these turrets is the very audible and tactile click. When it comes to the eye relief, I think it's decent. The eye box is okay, but gets very tight at higher magnifications. My first impressions is that the image was really sharp. In online reviews, some people complain about chromatic aberrations. I couldn't notice anything with the eye. It gets noticeable if you film something through your phone, but in practice, it was not noticeable. However, there is a tangible loss of contrast past 20x. One thing is I love the reticle. I really love the way it is designed. It is not intrusive, it is not obstructing, and the whole of it is illuminated. And you have 11 different levels of illumination, which make it clearly visible in broad daylight, in very sunny conditions. But at the same time, it's not too bright if you were to shoot in complete darkness. The graduations, the distances on the parallax adjustment do not match the reality, which means that if you are aiming at something 100 yards away and you are turning the knob up to 100 yards, this is not going to achieve perfect focus. You're still going to have some parallax. You usually need to turn it beyond 100 yards to achieve perfect focus. But I've heard this is an issue with many different scopes. You know, the distances on the parallax knob do not match necessarily the reality because it depends on many factors. When it comes to the tracking accuracy with the turrets, you have many online reviews that show that even with the Gen 1, it performs flawlessly. But what I didn't find in online reviews is the resolution testing. So if you want to know how I exactly measure the resolution, I invite you to watch the very first video on this channel where I explain the whole process. So to measure it, I use a US Air Force 1951 chart at 25 yards, and I do two sets of measurements, first with my eye and second with a camera. because sometimes the camera notices more details than the eye and vice versa. By eye, at 10x, we start with a divergence factor of 1.5, which means the optical quality is decent, but beyond that, you will notice a loss of perception. And as we increase the magnification up to 29x, this divergence factor goes up to 1.8, but that's by eye. And one very good thing about this scope is that it is assembled in Japan. I thought it wouldn't make a huge difference compared to other countries, but from the same brand, I've bought a spotting scope, an RS Gen 2, and which is Chinese made, and yeah, I was able to see a huge difference when it comes to glass quality. When it comes to test with the camera at 10x and 15x, the camera resolves much more detail than what you could potentially see with perfect vision. At 10x, while a perfect resolution is achieved at 6 SOA, the scope achieves 4.52 SOA. And same at 15x, the target was 4 SOA, and the scope does 3.6 SOA. But then as we increase the magnification, we see a divergence factor of 1.2, which is still decent, it's still good. And then at 25x, it becomes 1.5. And 29x, it becomes 1.6. As expected, there's a loss of contrast the more you increase the magnification. But these figures tell us that there is no real point going past 25x because you won't be able to discern as many things as at lower magnifications. I've been using this scope for now 2 years now, and in a variety of conditions and disciplines, and it's just been great. Of course, I wish that the optical quality was better past 20x, but you know, that would be just for fun, doing things like, I don't know, spotting bullet holes and paper targets at past like 300, 400 yards, which you don't really need in real life. It tracks well, it keeps zero well, so it does a great job for what I need. And you know, that's the main thing with the scope. When it doesn't make your work harder. The very big bonus with this scope is that it didn't break my bank account, especially if you got it on sale. I remember I got it from Optics Planet for $1,100. That's nothing for a scope this quality. And from my personal experience, so I've shot Vortexes before, I've shot a Schmidt & Bender PM2. I was really impressed with the glass quality. But again, that's very subjective. I want to get my hands on some of these scopes and put them through the same resolution testing I've done with the US Air Force 1951 chart to get to the root of the matter. Like, what is the resolution compared to the Athlon? Where do they score? I'm also based in the UK, so it makes it a bit tricky for me to get my hands on US made equipment. But if you're in the UK and you would like me to review some equipment, feel free to get in touch with me and we can arrange something. Don't forget that I am just a reviewer among many others. I invite you to look at other written and video reviews you can find online to make your opinion, because it's still a big piece of investment. I hope this video was very useful. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.